Hello, this is the first official episode of Bravescast. That's not a player preview. We are going to talk about the players that we forgot. We apparently we only think that 10 players were on the Braves 26-man roster.
I was shocked to
And
find out.
yeah, it was crazy. The 10 players that we covered were so good. We thought that they were just going to go with those guys the rest of the season. And apparently they also have to roster 16 others, and they're also pretty good too. So that's exciting. I wasn't expecting that news. And we're also going to go over really just the season, and we're going to talk about who we think is going to be valuable for the team, and all that fun stuff, all that stuff you see sports reporters talking about. We're going to be discussing our thoughts and opinions and waxing poetic about the Braves 2023 season. So this is it, the first real episode of Braves Cast. Get excited. Braves Cast, woo, do do
Woo!
do. I'm very glad that we haven't come up with an actual intro besides the one that you did for that reason. Um,
Let it run. We'll figure it out.
so yeah, first off, let's just talk about the players we didn't get a chance to cover, just because we're very busy and we don't have much time. And I honestly, just because of everything with the World Baseball Classic, I forgot the season that opening day was this week. I literally thought we had like another week before opening day, but I was like, oh wait, it's on Thursday. Oh,
No,
just
it was definitely on my radar, but also I feel like I go to bed every night. Like last night, I think I had a dream that it was February. And in my dream, I was like, man, it's really weird that the Major League Baseball season is starting in February. That's got to be a first in my
yeah,
dream. So I
for
also was not prepared
because for me,
for
I
it.
I treated normally for me I'm so deprived of important baseball, of meaningful games, and I'm using that word very very intentionally, that I'm counting the days. I mean, every day, how far do we have until opening day? But for me, I felt like I got my fix. If opening day wasn't until like April 14th, I would be totally fine with that because, well, we got the World Baseball Classic. And also on that note, I think because of the lockout last season, it, that's another part of it where I forgot that the season normally starts late March, early April, and not like
Yeah,
mid-April.
I did forget that there were like 6 games that were canceled.
Yeah, like there was a week of the season that was basically wiped off. Well, not wiped off the earth. They made up those games, but um, this feels like the first season really where since 2019 where uh, it's starting totally normally. Fan full capacity, in addition to starting on time. So don't blame us. We're just honest, hardworking folk who,
We were conditioned from the past 30
yeah,
years of baseball
we've
to just
been
not expect.
we've been honestly tortured as baseball fans the last 3 years, and this is like feels uh it's refreshing, but also we're not used to it. So anyway, let's go ahead and just cover players. We can do sort of just like a speed round, if you
Yeah.
will.
So I would like to point out to the audience the 5 or 12 of you who have watched so far. Who knows
Thank you, by the
how
way.
many? But we did do a shortstop episode, but the position has been filled and we were very wrong about it. So rather than releasing a 30-minute episode in which we say Vaughn Grissom, he's got the job out of the gate, and then we spend 30 minutes prepping for Vaughn Grissom. Uh, we got it wrong. It's Orlando Arcia. I don't actually hate the Arcia starting the season at shortstop. I don't know about you, Cole. I like his approach. I like that he's that 9-hole hitter who just swings out of his shoes, and sometimes he hits homer, sometimes he strikes out. He had a 104 WRC plus last year, although
Yeah,
like 400 of that was from the Nationals.
so a lot of my friends who it was funny because when I was in Miami when I was going to the Mexico or at the Mexico Japan game, the news broke that both Von Grissom and Braden Shoemake were optioned to the minors, and people were asking me, why are Braves fans so mad? And for me, I think it was because we put so much stock into Von Grissom, and Orlando Arcia was the boring answer. He's not the most sexy of players, but what I was trying to explain to Braves fans who were reaching out to me, and not just figments of my imagination, um, was that with Orlando Arcia, and we keep saying this, especially in the player profiles, we know what kind of player he is. We know what kind of performance he's going to give us. He's, like you said, Mitchell, he basically fits the Braves mold perfectly of sitting dead red on his pitch. And if he gets it, he's going to hit it 400 feet, but he'll also strike out a decent bit. And with Von Grissom, he's still, even though he had a decent spring, he's still such a wild card at this point in his career and his development that I do think he needs some additional time to figure it out in the minors. And, he's still going to be the shortstop of our future. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Being optional in the minors doesn't mean that he's not going to be a part of our future. We talk a lot about, psyche and how these decisions affect players. And you don't want to put this guy, replacing Dansby Swanson, who kind of became like our faux leader, our de facto leader the last couple of
I
years.
mean, he thought he was the leader.
Yeah, no, exactly. You don't want to put him in that position and set him up to fail. That stuff does have a lasting impact on players' psyches. And, as much as we want to kind of treat these guys like robots, I mean, that poor performance does stick with them. So I think Orlando Arcia is the safe bet now. I know a lot has been said about his defensive metrics. They're not great, but at least
really
we
not.
know. At least we know they're subpar, but at least he can play. I don't want to say the word competent because that would get torn apart. But at least we know the kind of defense he's going to give us. Where Von Grissom, again, he's the mystery box player, and when we call him up, he will be called up at some point this season. I have no doubt about it. We're going to know what kind of player he is at that point. And to me, it's just they saw him as too much of a mystery box right now, and they do want him to be the franchise's future shortstop. So just give him some time in the minors, and he'll figure it out, and he's going to be part of this squad, I think, this year.
I definitely think he's coming back up. I don't know if he's the future shortstop. I think them sending him down with him batting, I don't know, 300 in spring training showed that like they're really not confident about his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And with Arcia being like he hasn't played shortstop since 2020. Like I think he has 6 games total since then at shortstop. I really think the Braves don't like his defense enough that they would rather ride with Arcia. Grissom will be back this year for sure. He probably will play some shortstop for the Braves. I think the question for the Braves when they watch him in Gwinnett and then when they see him at the big league level this year is if he's actually a shortstop, because he might just be a left fielder. I hope Ozzy Albies is not going anywhere in the next 3 years, but the infield's set.
I mean, short. I think just from what I've heard, it makes it sound like I have sources, which obviously I don't. But from what I've heard from other people, I think they still believe that he could be their shortstop one day. It's just he's not their shortstop today. We know it's obviously a very difficult position to field. And now with the shift, I would say it's shortstop's not as effective as second base, but I still think it matters. So for me, I think you're right where they just don't feel confident in him right now, but I don't think that means that he's a lost cause necessarily.
I don't think it's a lost cause. He's still going down to Gwinnett to play shortstop. It's just a matter of if in 2024 is he still a shortstop.
Yeah.
Um, and that question hasn't been answered. But overall, like, I think some Braves fans are not confident about this team. Uh, and when you don't make a lot of moves as a team, it doesn't matter how good you are to begin with. If your team doesn't make a lot of moves in the offseason, you're probably not going to feel as confident as you would be if, you made all the Mets deals that the Mets did, even though they had to make those deals to be at
A good
least
team.
close to as good as they were last year. Um, like the Mets come away from that offseason even without Correa, and they're feeling really good about themselves. And the Braves acquire Sean Murphy, ship out William Contreras, and then expect the Braves fans to be like happy about losing Dansby Swanson. But if you look at the whole team, like this team is incredible. I just today watching that spring training game, you had Olson hit. I wish there was StatCast, but I swear that homer was like 450, 460 feet to dead center. You had Eddie Rosario, who we'll talk about in a minute. He had a nice home run to left. You had Sean Murphy hit a home run to dead center too. This team is stacked, and so having Orlando Arcia as the shortstop, as disappointing as that is, going from Dansby to Orlando Arcia, it doesn't mean the team is gonna be like a fourth place, third place team. It just means like they feel confident enough in the rest of the team that they're letting Grissom season, they're letting Shoemake season, and Arcia, he was an above average hitter last year. Like
Yeah.
we are forgetting that.
No.
He's good enough.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think the rest of the roster is so strong that it can shore up any of the potential weaknesses, especially in the lineup. I mean, I still am in the camp that we should have signed an Elvis Andrews or just even an Andrelton Simmons reunion, just so we could make sure we have a competent defender at short. Um, and that's going to be one of my storylines, seeing how the infield defense as a whole is affected by having Arcia as our everyday shortstop. But in terms of lineup, in terms of production, I don't think it matters that much because, I mean, we have Ronald Acuna Jr., we have Matt Olson, we have
Austin Riley,
Austin Riley, we have Michael Harris, we have
Sean
Sean
Murphy,
Murphy. I mean, we have
Travis
enough.
d'Arnaud, Marcell Ozuna, if you believe in Ozuna, Ozzy Albies.
Yeah, so we have enough
We're fine.
firepower that if our 9 hitter is below league average, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, we have enough dynamic players, we have enough power hitters, we have enough, players who are hitting for average. It really does not matter in terms of production offensively. My biggest thing was just defense, and that is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I am interested because I feel like Arcia is the weird case of a shortstop that you really can't move around the field. We saw him play left field a few years ago, and he was probably one of the worst defensive
What
left fielders I've ever seen.
what is it the Braves trying to just put everybody in left field? We tried to put Austin Riley in left field.
Austin Riley was fine
He was fine. He
defensively.
was fine.
Like
That's what I'm
Austin
saying.
Riley
He
was
was
a much better defender in
he was
left than
fine,
Orlando
but
Arcia.
I just thought it was funny. Like Austin Riley, William Contreras, we put him in the outfield for a couple games in the Texas series. Who else do we put in the outfield? I wouldn't be surprised if we put Brian McCann in the outfield in 2019. It just felt like we were putting
No,
everybody out
I
there.
wish we did. That would have been fun to
That would have
watch,
been
but
hilarious.
unfortunately we didn't.
That would have been Nelson Cruz playing right field for the Dominican Republic in that blowout game.
One
Uh,
last fact before we move on to the next player, but do you know who Orlando Arcia is slower than?
Austin Riley.
Well, I mean, we already covered
Yeah,
Austin Riley,
I
but
know.
like
I know
he's
Orlando.
he's much slower than Austin Riley. There's a
Yeah,
player
I know Orlando
that is
Arcia is
not
slow, so I'm just trying to figure out who specifically you're talking about. Is it a Brave?
like on the Braves. He's slower than a player who was
There's
getting gunned
there.
down last
Oh,
season.
Matt Olson.
Yeah, he's like point
Yeah,
0.1 feet per second slower
yeah.
than Matt Olson.
Arcia is a very slow man. We still love him though.
He's a slow player. I
Yeah.
don't get Orlando Arcia is such an interesting player profile because he's a middle infielder who's really slow, who can play shortstop and second base, and that's about it. You try to move him outside that position, you probably can't do it. He's not a very powerful hitter, but he swings for power and it works for him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care.
I
Uh,
I know they're starting to take bat speed metrics, and I'd be very interested to see where he ranks in terms of bat speed because he swings really, really hard.
he swings so
He's
hard,
not a
and it's not
power.
like his max exit velo is like impressive. I wrote it
That's
down
what I'm
here. He
saying.
has a max exit velo of 38,
That's
like
what I'm
the 38th
saying.
percentile.
He's not a. I mean, again, he's an athlete. So when we say this, we still respect the fact that he is paid to play baseball. But just in terms of major league players, he's not a particularly strong person. But man, he swings. I mean, he's like swinging out of his shoes.
Yeah, I love
When
it
he's putting his ace swing out
personally.
there. Oh, it's great. I remember that walk off against the Red Sox. I mean, when he
The
gets his pitch, like it's fun to watch.
My favorite memory is when he hit a 3-run bomb off my favorite non-Braves player, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, man, he's definitely taking that one to the grave. Um,
Yeah. So Michael Harris, this one is the one that I really am a little disappointed that we didn't dedicate a whole 40 minutes to him. Great rookie, even though I advocated for Spencer Strider to win the Rookie of the Year. The craziest thing to me about Harris last season was that he came up, he struggled in his first few games, he changed his batting stance, was phenomenal. And then after the All Star break, he got even better. I don't have it written down, but I think his pre All Star break WRC plus was like 120 something, and his post All Star break WRC plus was 144 or something crazy like that. He had 19 homers. He stole 20 bases. He's another guy on the Braves like Ronnie who could probably have an easy 30-30 with these new bases. He's a great defender. I think he was snubbed from being a Gold Glove finalist last year. Uh, 4.8 F4. His only weaknesses really are strikeouts and walks.
yeah, I was gonna say he kind of profiles hitter wise as like a left-handed Javi Baez, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean Javi Baez was a good player for a very long time, and I think he still can recapture some of that, especially with Comerica parking. It's their new dimensions. But yeah, he had a 24.3 strikeout rate last year, which honestly for a rookie, like I don't think is
No, it's really not bad.
awful. It's not great. Like you want to see him improve on that, but it's not. You're not
It's not
batting an
Keston
eye.
Hira, who just
Yeah.
got designated for assignment by the Brewers.
Oh man, I am so making a video on Castanera. He was such a rabbit ball merchant in 2019. Like it wasn't even funny. But again, that's a uh different topic for a different day. Walk rate 4.8%. He swings a lot. He's a free swinger. But the thing that I really like about him, Michael Harris, is uh he connects with a lot. I mean, he'll swing and miss a lot, but he's able to like make decent contact with pitches out of the zone. And from like an evaluator standpoint, you don't love it because it's not sustainable. But from like a fan perspective, there's that one homer he hit against the Nationals that it was like way out and up. You remember that it was like a Nationals Park? I think it was
No,
at the
I
end of the
definitely remember
season.
it. I just can't remember where in the zone it was. I remember when he hit it, though. I went, what?
Yeah, it was like out and up. I mean, it was probably about like 3 inches away from the zone, both up and to
Like, it
his
wasn't even
left.
close to touching that, like,
Yeah,
strike
and
zone box on the TV.
yeah, exactly. And I hope he can continue it. You know, the cynical part of me says he won't, but I do think he's like a talented enough person to be
Do
able
you think
to
he's like a Vlad Guerrero or Vlad Guerrero Senior type?
maybe. And
Because that
I
contact really changes things.
yeah, and honestly, I love that. I wish that in today's game, we're so focused on sort of these metrics. I'm going to avoid using the word analytics because I don't want to sound like a boomer here, but we're so focused on these metrics that we kind of put these players in boxes where, oh, if his contact rate or swinging strike rate is below this or above this, then it's not sustainable. It's not gonna. But I think we forget that like there are different player archetypes. Like not every player is built like Mike Trout. Not every player is built. Who's another fantasy or not fantasy analytics darling? I don't know, Aaron Judge, and I want to say that Michael Harris's game, while not really, uh, I would say savvy or not savvy, but like pertinent to the modern analytics game, I think he can be able to pull off at least this point in his career. I think when he gets older and his physical tools start to decline, then he's going to have to make adjustments. But at this point in his career, you know what, dude? If you can make contact with a ball that's like 5 inches out of the zone and lace it for a double, that's a go for it, dude. I I don't
Yeah,
have
and
any
he's
complaints
also
about it.
like aware that he needs to stop chasing as much as he does. But I do think chasing and whiffing and chasing and like fouling off pitches is something that I don't think Savant does a good enough job at distinguishing. Where you can see his whiff or his rate is dark blue, which usually means like horrible.
Yeah.
But I think I read an article on Fangraphs, I think it was, that was saying he was connecting on pitches out of the zone like 10% more than a league average hitter, which means that even though he's chasing, it's not actually like a terrible thing because he's connecting. And you
Yeah.
have that anecdote of the homer, so like he doesn't have to walk 8% of the time. He basically has Albi's walk strikeout rate, kind of, maybe definitely a little higher on the strikeout, but he's got so much more power. He hits the ball so much harder than Albies, and we love Albies here. We're an Albies fan club, so
we're
you
very
you have that but better
yeah, we're a
with
very
Harris. So
pro
I'm fine.
Albies podcast, but and again, at the end of the day, even if his hit tool, because I do think the stats that he put up, and just to give a refresher to our lovely audience, um, his slash line was he batted 297, OBP of 339, slugging of 514, OPS plus. Yes, I know I use OPS plus. It's because I'm a whore for Baseball Reference. Was 135. As a 21-year-old, he just he just was able to drink his first beer,
He barely
and
got to play Double A.
yeah,
Like he played
I
what
mean,
30 games
we
there.
were not expecting him. We were expecting Adam Duvall to be our center fielder in 20, I almost said 2021, in
No disrespect to
2022.
Adam Duvall,
Yeah. Um,
but yeah,
I mean, he put up insane numbers. I don't expect him to do that throughout a full season, but even if he's OPSing around 750, his glove is so potent, is so strong that he's going to make up his value that way. He's going to make up his value on the base path. So, and that's, I know I just said he's like the anti-analytics guy when it comes to his swing profile, but when it comes to everything else, I mean, he is the dude you want to put in center field. I mean, he's pretty much the
I still
prototypical
expect
center
him
fielder.
to have like a 120 WRC plus, just
I
because he hits the ball so well and he adjusted so well at the major league level.
yeah,
Like, had he had a big decline in the second half, like if he had a 160 WRC plus in the first half and then he had like a 115 WRC plus the second half of the year, I think I would have been more concerned. Like, I would be projecting him with my super uh calculated brain saying 110 WRC plus, maybe 105, but he had a higher WRC plus in the second
I'm
half.
I'm a little worried against his performance against lefties. I do you know where we're gonna bat him? Are we gonna put him? Because he's not batting ninth this
I
year.
hope
There's
he's
no
fifth.
way. Fifth, okay. Because obviously with the loogie rule, it is harder just to throw a lefty against a guy like Michael Harris. I don't want to say he was an automatic out against lefties, but just for reference, he had a 943 OPS against righties, which if you have a 943 OPS with the speed profile and the defense profile, like that's an MVP season. Against lefties, it was 649, which I would say is definitely below replacement level, just purely hitting. So I am a little bit worried about lefties finding more ways to. Can you say the word exploit nowadays? Is that an inappropriate term?
Yeah, I hear it in sports all the time.
Okay. I mean, I'm in cybersecurity. I hear the word exploit all the time. I can see lefties finding more weaknesses against them, exploiting them, and then his performance against righties dropping off to a point where again I could still see him putting up like 100, 110 WRC plus. But I don't really see a 120 season. But I could be wrong here.
Yeah, he does get to face Patrick Corbin to to start the
Oh,
season.
oh, oh! He's their opening day starting. That is so sad. Oh
I
my god.
am I am very cautious because the past 4 opening days I think the Braves have lost. Um so part of me is writing off game 1 of the 162 game season as like an easy win because it's Patrick Corbin and he had like a 6.30 ERA FIP.
One of the worst pitchers last year. Um,
But the Braves for some reason can't win on can't win on opening day.
just a
So
side note, I thought about starting a second channel called like Some More Fielders and doing, I don't know if you've been seeing like the AI presidents like rankings videos, but I
yeah,
thought about
I've
doing
seen
an
it.
AI presidents like rank ball players like either overrated, properly rated, or underrated. And I was going to put Patrick Corbin on there and have Donald Trump be like, he is a true American patriot. He is one of the most like underrated pitchers like in baseball. What he did for the Nationals in 2019 is unprecedented. Anyway, yeah, we'll
So
see. And
if
and we
Harris
gotta,
has like a 3 for 4 game off of Corbin, those lefty stats are gonna look a lot better.
yeah. We also have to remember too, and honestly, as much as I like the concept of the new schedule, just for any fans that are unaware here, um, MLB, the way the schedule used to be laid out was every year you would play each division rival. So if you're in the NL East, you'd play all the NL East teams. I think what, like 20 times or not 20, like 20.
17 times. All the same division teams would play 17 times, I
Yeah.
think.
But now they're doing, and
Or is
then
it 19?
something like that, and then
The Braves went 10-9, so it's 19
and
games.
then
It
you would
was.
face one interleague opponent or one interleague division each year. You'd rotate out, so it'd be last year for the Braves. I think it was the AL West that we played, and
Yeah.
but now basically you're playing every team. Essentially, it would be more like an NBA type of schedule. So you're seeing your division opponents a lot less. You're still seeing them more than you would, um, if it was a team in a different division. So it is funny because that is such a easy point to make about each season. Like, oh, like the AL Central, they're just gonna beat up on each other, or oh, the weak pitching in the NL West, so and so is gonna feast on it. But we are gonna see the Nationals a lot less this year. We are gonna see the Mets a lot less this year.
Yeah, I'm disappointed about the Nationals part.
Yeah, right. Well, even I don't know. I think uh, as cool as it is to be like, oh, cool, we get to see Mike Trout more. Um, Another part of me is thinking that I just think division games are more compelling to watch because it's like those are the guys you're directly competing against. To make the playoffs, and it just feels like you're really missing out on something by playing them less throughout the year. So that's just my
Yeah,
quick 2 cents. That's my
I like the new schedule setup. I think it's weird when players can play so long with a team. So like Albert Pujols didn't play in St. Louis again after he signed with the Angels until like 2017 or 2018 or something crazy like
I
that.
think it was 2019
And then
actually.
was it
Yeah,
2019?
yeah,
Oh, I think you're right because then he played again with the Dodgers. So he went there with the Angels and he got to go there again with the
yeah.
Dodgers. Um, oh no, he didn't. He just went there with the Angels. I think
He
2021 he also
went to the
was
Dodgers in
able to play
20.
with both.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah. Like Eric Hosmer signed with the Padres like 5 years ago, and last year when he was with the Red Sox was his first time back at Kauffman Stadium. So like, I don't like that it takes so long for like teams to play each other. Like we just got to see Shohei Otani for the first time
yeah.
in 2022 as Braves fans,
We got to see Mike
and we lit
Trout
him
for
up.
the
Thank
first
God.
time since like I don't think the Angels came to town in
2014,
2017. Yeah, it's been a while. And again, I think I do like that part of it, and I almost kind of wish the schedule makers would factor in what teams are going to be good and not. Like if we could play the Mets more. I mean, as a fan, obviously you're like, no, we'd rather play the Marlins more, play the worst teams. But I I just think of the last series against the Mets. And to me, that series not only was it special because we swept them, by the way, um, but it felt like
Did we?
we did. It was awesome. That was one of the best
Wow, we should
weekends.
talk more about that
That was
sometime.
one of the best weekends of my life last year, and
I just remember some guy saying the division was over. It's over. Ah, man. Mets fans. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe it wasn't.
yeah.
Maybe
Oh
maybe
yeah,
they still had
yeah.
a chance.
Mister Timmy
Sal.
Timmy 2-time, freaking hot dog eating, Sopranos watching. Um, but anyway, but not only was that series special because we swept them, because that made it pretty special, but it felt like this great conclusion to this battle that we had with them all season. I mean, I think about every series we had against them, and it was that 4-game series we played them in New York. That I think that was the
It was
one
a
where
5-game series.
5-game series. It was the one where Spencer Strider had that comment
Yeah,
that
it was
Mets fans like to
the
clown
5-game
on.
series, I think.
Um,
Yeah.
and
John
for
Boy actually came across on their Braves preview, and we're like, Spencer Strider was right, and Mets got lucky,
yeah, no, they did, yeah.
and they did.
Um, even like not looking at the raw numbers, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of bounces that went their way, and hey, guess what? Guess who won the NL East last year?
Mets
Guess
fans
who's
like
the
to
better
point out that
team?
they actually got to host more playoff games than the Braves last year, but
Oh, boo hoo!
we
Oh
had the
my
division.
god!
We had the division.
Look, I one of my goals, like one of my mission statements for this podcast, is not to just bash on the Mets, um, but we will occasionally bash on Mets. Okay, we will occasionally, especially when we're covering a series against them, and we win. Yeah, it might get ugly, but we're not gonna just. There's so many Braves podcasts and Braves fans that it seems like their identity is more about insulting Mets and their fan base than actually being grateful for what the Braves provide as a team. So we're not doing
Yeah, I
doing
actually
that.
like the unpopular Braves opinion, but I actually like a lot of players, like baseball players. Maybe not the person, but I like a lot of what
Oh,
like the players have to offer. I
I
love a
think
lot of the Mets players.
I think Pete Alonso's great. He's kind of he's a goofball, and I think he's like in a really fun way. I've never seen a slugger be that much of like a meme the way that he
Yeah,
is.
my favorite meme is the home run derby
Oh,
meme.
that is great.
um, but yeah, I don't want to bash on Mets fans here. We love Mets players, and we just want to beat the Mets all the time. Speaking of people that we don't love,
Oh god.
Marcell Ozuna.
Oh man. So before when I thought we were gonna do a dedicated Marcelo Ozuna episode, I had this whole disclaimer prepared where I was prepared to say, you know what, his time with the Braves has been rough. He has done pretty much everything in his power to make him the most disliked player on our team, one of the most disliked players in baseball. But I forgot it. I completely forgot the disclaimer. So I'm just gonna say that whatever we say about Marcell Ozuna, I don't want to add to the narrative of his character. I think it speaks for itself at this point. I'm willing to give him a second chance, and it is like this weird middle area that we're in, where if he does bad, then it's like boo, screw you, Marcelo Ozuna, you suck, you hit your wife, you had a DUI, you could have put other people's lives at risk. But if he's good, then we're in this weird place of going to ourselves and saying, so wait, do we root for him now that he's good? Like just because he's like putting up good numbers on the field, that means he's like
Yeah,
redeemed
does
as a
the
person.
100 WRC plus line suddenly make us like, pull for the guy? I
Yeah.
do think with Ozuna's, yeah, and we don't want to touch on this too much because this is kind of just a player plays through. I don't want to sound dismissive, but Ozuna's situation is a lot more complicated, I think,
Yeah,
because
no, and
his
that's what I was
wife
gonna
was
say.
also arrested
Yeah,
previously.
no, I mean,
Um,
it just seemed like a very bad toxic
Bad
relationship
environment
that
for
I
both people.
personally, just as somebody who has empathy for other people, I just don't want to touch on. Like, I think that's his business. Um, I was actually more mad about the not that I dismiss uh domestic abuse, because that is something that's very close to home for me. Um, but that made me more mad because it's like he was it's like he should have been kind of like playing it safe. You know, he
Yeah, he was
knew.
basically on team probation,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like I remember noticing in the 2022 season, like early, I forgot whose Instagram, but there was a lot of like, I think it was Heredia or somebody who like there was on Instagram Live, and a lot of the Latin players were like hanging out and they're playing music. Like Kenley Jansen was playing bass, and they're all like having a good time. It was cool, but there was one person that was like noticeably absent from that group, and it was Marcelo Zuna. I mean, he basically like, I don't know if he wanted to do his own thing, or you know the rest of the team basically ostracized him for their own reasons, but he was noticeably absent from that group, which I thought was interesting. But
He
then
definitely had very few friends in the clubhouse
yeah,
last season.
but then seeing the DUI clip, you know, it was after a game. I don't know if it was after they got the ice cream machine. I might be like confusing
It was
memories here.
definitely after a game that he didn't play, though. Like, it
Yeah,
wasn't like he had been in the lineup.
and the way he talked to the police officer, and that I'm not gonna lie, that clip is like as bad as it gets, just like optics wise.
It's
Um,
also hilarious, though.
it's funny. No, it's funny as shit. Like, just him saying, "I am Marcelo Zuna from the Braves." It's like, homie. One thing, if he's a Braves fan, you're not like in good position with him. Like he's gonna be like, "Oh,
No,
bro, like you struck out 4 times tonight. Like you're going to the slammer."
you're like the most hated Braves player in a long time.
Yeah.
That's not gonna win any
It is
points.
funny because it kind of reminds me of Tony La Russa. I don't know if you've heard this story. It was when he was hired by the White Sox, and a story came out of him getting arrested for DUI, and he tried to flash his World Series rings to the cop and being like, "No, it's cool, man. I'm a World Series champion." It's like, dude, your BAC is like 4% right now, homie. Like, I don't care how many World Series you won. You're going to jail. Like that. This is a different world out here. So it was just kind of a scummy. Like instead of pulling out his ID, he pulled out his Braves ID, like his Braves pass, you know, like whatever when he gets to the stadium, and it was a bad look. It was as bad a look as you can get for a player who, like you said, was basically on team probation. Um, all that out of the way. Anything else you want to say about just that part of it? Because then after we're done, I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about his character at all.
No, I mean, yeah, he's disappointed me character wise. I loved him in 2020. It's tough. I, I, I hope he's becoming a better person. I don't want to root against people, and I'm hoping, 2023, the Braves are giving him essentially a third chance.
Yeah,
I know there's money attached to it, but I'm hoping he shows himself to be a better citizen than he's been in the past 2 years.
yeah. Um,
On the baseball side, last year was rough. He had an 88 WRC plus. He hit 20 homers. He had an 88 WRC plus with 20 homers. He had like a 220 batting average. He had a 286, 296 OPS on base percentage.
he he
Negative 6 F4
he had one of those
was not good.
he had one of those all time like high power, but literally did not provide anything else type of seasons. It's like kind of reminds me of my Chris Carter video, where it's like being able to get 23 good swings off for the entire year does not make a good player.
He did. What's weird about Ozuna is like, I don't know about you, Cole. I watch maybe 4 games a week because I try not to make it a daily routine at 7 p.m. to turn on the TV and watch Braves every night. Like I
Oh,
tried to have some semblance of a life outside of baseball.
for
Um,
me, it's
I'm not
like
doing a good job of it,
for
but
me, it's like if I have nothing else to do, like Braves are going to be on the TV. Like even if I'm like editing or I'm like doing video stuff or I'm practicing, like it's just even if it's on in the background. But I try to do it where I'm not like planning my days around. You know, like if I
oh no,
have
I definitely don't plan. I don't go like, oh no, I can't hang out on that night
yeah.
because the Braves are playing the Pirates. But Ozuna didn't look good as a fan from the eye test, from watching all the games, and maybe it's that like that bias where you're like, this guy is not doing well, and so he hits a grounder that's 110 miles an hour, but right at the shortstop, and you're like, Ozuna's a trash player. But he severely underperformed his ex Woba. Uh, I think he underperformed by 40 points.
Yeah, his Woba was 298, his ex Woba was 337. Um
So I don't know what to make of that because from the eye test, every night that I watched Ozuna play, I was like, man, this is
it
rough to watch.
it seemed like for me, like just personally, every time he had a good game, like I wasn't watching. I remember like I'd go out or something and or just be doing something else and I come back and it's like, oh, Ozuna went 3 for 4, cool. I think there was a game against the Dodgers. I don't want to speak to that. Um, yeah, I mean, you look at his rolling xWOBA. He did start to pick it up as the season ended. Um, he was. I mean, he was pretty true. I mean, if he kept up his numbers I don't have them pulled up right now, but if he kept his numbers that he had, I would say through June maybe. I mean, it would look a lot worse than it actually was. He started to pick it
Yeah, I
up
think I
as the
remember
season
looking
progressed.
towards the end of the season and being surprised he had gotten it up to 88 WRC plus.
I
Um,
remember I had a joke where it felt like he would put a good swing on a ball, but he would just get under it, and it would just result in a pop up. I'm trying to find like a stat to validate it. I thought there was something on Savant about. I mean, I see like weak contact percentage.
he had a hard hit rate of like 75%. So it's just I don't know if it's a mix up of like a mashup of like when he did hit the ball over the fence, it was just a bunch of no doubters, or if there and like he had a bunch of hard grounders right at people that were like 50-50s, or if it's just the bias that I have as a fan who watches baseball and sees a ground out and goes, that wasn't very good.
Yeah,
But I definitely am surprised to see how good he would be if he had just met his ex Woba goals. Like I think he would have had like a one, or not how good, but I think it would have been like a 105, 110 WRC plus. Um, he has looked good this spring. I haven't watched that many spring baseball games.
yeah. I
But the
mean,
games I have seen him, he's hit the ball hard. He's got
he
good stats.
yeah. I mean, he was on the B squad. I was looking at his baseball reference has this when they show the spring stats, they have like a opponent rating, and it was like at a 7, which is basically triple or double A level. I don't know how much stock you want to put in that. I mean, I don't know how they calculate that number exactly. Um, just for reference though, just so I can feel like I made a decent point here. Um, his OPS in September to the end of the season was 953. Um, he started. Well, I don't want to say he started walking a lot more because he had 4 walks throughout the whole month, but um, he was just making more consistent contact. His batting average was 321, slugging 585. So it's one of those things where it's like we know there's a good player in there. Um, we just don't know if that's ever going to come out for a full season specifically.
If he can even be just a 105, 110 WRC plus guy, I will not complain about Ozuna, the player this year.
And I mean, we can kind of start to mix the Eddie Rosario aspect into this. I know the Braves aren't really a team who plays like this. We don't really use platoons. much to, I would say, my chagrin. But we do have Eddie Rosario. Um, if we had a true platoon against Marcel Ozuna and Eddie Rosario, I could see our left field production being in the 50th percentile or the top 15 of the league. But
Eddie Rosario is definitely, we can use, yeah, definitely use this as a segue to Eddie Rosario too. Eddie Rosario is kind of the anti Marcelo Ozuna to me because he went off in 2021 and like he could, if he had gone somewhere else, like, you know how Jorge Soler is kind of just this Braves icon for life now, even though he will have only played 60 games in a Braves uniform.
yeah,
Eddie Rosario got that status and then re-signed with the Braves, and he was horrible, but he had an excuse. He could not see out of one of his eyes. It was just all messed up.
Yeah, and when he came back, I mean, he wasn't really great. I mean, he ended up. It's kind of funny. I'm like looking at stats now. He ended up playing 80 games. I mean, he ended up playing pretty much half a season. And when he came back, he still wasn't great. You know, maybe he was still adjusting. I've never had cataract surgery, so I really don't know what that recovery process looks like. Eddie Rosario was interesting because he, to me, you know, his nickname was Steady Eddie when he was at the Twins, because basically from 2017 to, I can't say 2020, can I? 2017 to 2019, he pretty much put up the same season 3 years in a row. I mean, 800 plus OPS, you know, slugging 479 to 507, OBP under 330, you know, average 275 to 290. Pretty much was definition of consistent. 2020 was a year that existed at some point on the timeline. And then 2021, he signs with the Cleveland Ball Club. Is terrible for them. Got hurt and then basically got traded to the Braves for nothing. All respect to Pablo
Thank
Sandoval.
you, Pablo Sandoval.
But they released him immediately after. And then something I found out is whenever they say cash considerations, typically it's like $1. It's literally just like, hey, take this player off our hands. You know, it's either that or we release him. So might as well choose where, you know, instead of releasing him and then like a division rival picking him up. Doesn't play that much for the Braves. I mean, he comes back, he plays 33 games, pretty much goes off. I actually forgot how good he was during the regular season.
He was, how could you forget about the 5-pitch cycle?
Yeah, I know, right? Against the Giants.
That game was crazy. I remember watching it, and I think it was after his third at bat. I was like, man, he really hasn't seen that many pitches. And then he came up and he laced a single into center on the first pitch. And they were like, how many pitches was that? And I thought, I couldn't remember the first pitch strike in his first at bat. I thought he had just cycled on 4 pitches, and I was about to go crazy. It was a cycle on 5 pitches, which is ridiculous. But yeah, he came back in late August of 2021, and I thought he was gonna like barely play and maybe not even make the playoff roster, because we had Jock Peterson, Adam Duvall, and Jorge Soler, and all of them were doing well. Like Adam Duvall, you know, a lot of his value is coming from his defense, and he was suddenly playing above average defense in center field, even though he'd never really played there before. And then Soler was turning into a 130, 128 WRC plus guy, and Jock Peterson just had that it factor.
Yeah.
He comes in, he supplants Peterson. Kudos for Peterson for taking that. Like he was a major league vet, and he was willing to take that bench role, and still an awesome guy. Rosario goes off during the regular season, goes off during the postseason, has one of the most ridiculous NLCSs you could ever have. Doesn't really do much in the World Series, but that's okay.
Yeah,
because the Braves won.
He didn't want to take away from what Jorge Soler was doing.
You know, you can't take both the NLCS and World Series MVP. That's just kind of rude, you know?
Yeah, that is still...
Give it to some other people.
That is still insane to me to think about how the NLCS and World Series MVP for us in 2021 were guys who weren't even on the team on July 1st. Like that is
And they were
still insane
scrap
to
heap
me.
acquisitions.
Yeah,
It's not like we went out and
we got
acquired
them.
like an Aaron Judge type.
Yeah, we got them for basically a mascot and
Casey Kalik or
Casey
whatever his
Kalik.
name is.
Yeah, like a
Which I'm always gonna confuse with the that old TV or old radio persona, Casey Kasich. Yeah, I'm
I
always
remember
gonna confuse
that.
him with Casey Kasich.
Um,
Uh,
and no disrespect
but
to Casey Kalik, but I mean basically just like a low minor league, kind of a lottery ticket type of trade. So kind of just insane to think about. But yeah, I think if Eddie Rosario puts up even the type of year he put up in 2019, where 800 OPS, OPS plus at 107, I'm fine with that. Even in a platoon role with Ozuna, if just them together is able to resemble even like a semi-productive player, I'm cool with it. Their defense isn't going to be that great, but I think you can take it just because you do have Michael Harris in center. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's that in LCS, just that magic. I still want to believe in Eddie Rosario. I'm fine with giving him another shot in left this year. He's looked good this spring. I mean, today I watched him hit a home run, and it
yeah,
was really cool.
well, I'm actually looking at spring stats, 556 OPS, but he did play in the World Baseball Classic. This is only in 8 games, so I'm not taking him too much stock
Yeah,
in it.
I would ignore his spring. He was hitting the ball hard in the
Yeah,
World Baseball Classic. His stats
yeah.
didn't look that great, but he was hitting it hard. Um, I think this is a great segue to the bench too. Because I don't really know how Marcell Ozuna, Eddie Rosario, Travis d'Arnaud, and Sean Murphy are going to split time in left field / DH. But there are three other bench players who are very interesting. So the first one I think we should talk about is Kevin Pillar because
I
he
was gonna be
hasn't
like
had that much.
Braves legend. I thought you were gonna say Adrianza, and they said Pilar. I'm like,
No,
oh.
I kind of want to get to a conspiracy theory I have about Adrianza later. Um, but with Pilar, he hasn't really done much over the last. Well, he's never been a great hitter
Yeah,
to begin with. He's been a defense first guy with the Blue Jays. He got hit in the face with the Mets by Jacob Webb.
I was at that game.
I can't believe he would have that happen to him and then still sign with the Braves. But maybe one of the conditions was that the Braves could not bring Jacob Webb back into the organization.
Well, no. Now he doesn't have to worry about Jacob Webb if he does get. Well, I didn't know he was released by the Braves, but if he still was with the Braves, he wouldn't have to worry about him because now they're on the same
Maybe
team.
so.
Yeah.
I think
Just like-
they're on great terms.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
But Pilar hasn't. He's not a bad guy. His defense is sort of taken a step back from when he was with the Blue Jays and he was robbing ridiculous home runs.
I could see him fulfilling. Sorry, I'll let you finish and then I'll.
I know. I don't know how he fits into this team besides being that left field defensive replacement.
I was gonna say I could see him being sort of the Heredia type. Obviously, Guillermo Heredia has a special place in our hearts as Braves fans. Pink Swords. I mean, he was basically to me the heart and soul of this team. Most
I was
outside
watching a World Baseball Classic clip from 2013. I was just going through some games. And then I was watching a Cuba versus I don't even know who game. And then he steps up to the plate, not expecting him, and my heart just broke.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, I'm not going to get to see this man play anymore.
But I think, I mean, to me, seeing him play was whatever. But him as a
on the team
hype man, that's what I'm saying, as a hype man. So I could see Kevin Pillar fulfilling that role, being late game defensive replacement, sort of an emergency pinch, not emergency, but just like a pinch hitter against lefties. I don't hate it. I mean, I do think our bench does lack the depth of, let's say compared to the Mets or Dodgers. So I guess we'll see. I think you're right. It's funny. We had this conversation off camera about Kevin Pillar because I thought he was a lot better than he's actually been offensively. He's never really been a great offensive player. He had 1 year, he had 20 homers. I think that's what I was thinking of. I was like, oh, he had that 1 year,
Yeah.
but he hit like
I thought
220.
for sure he had been a league average hitter more than just during a shortened season, but I think he had where he was a starting center fielder. I think he had WRC pluses in the 70s sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if Snicker does like a semi platoon with him, Ozuna, and Rosario in left field. Because I know the Braves don't necessarily trust Rosario against lefties
Yeah, I wouldn't.
either. Um, but he doesn't hit much. I think he will be a nice presence to have around the team. I'm not convinced he finishes it with the Braves though. Because the Braves have a lot of outfield depth in
Yeah.
AAA, and Pilar makes the team because of that major league, like minor league deal, opt out for major league players with X amount of
Yeah.
service time.
And we are kind of in this phase of the game. I mean, we're kind of conditioned as like National League fans. We're conditioned as fans without a DH. So for us, like when I see this bench, my National League brain is like, oh God, this is terrible. I mean, we got nothing. If we need somebody to come up for the pitcher spot with the game on the line, who do we have? But
Max Fried.
yeah, right. Obviously, we do have the DH. We have to consider that. And I really think this is just more depth. And like you said, we do have depth in the minor leagues. I mean, if somebody in the infield gets hurt, we have Vaughn Grissom, Braden Shoemake, and then our outfield depth, Sam Hilliard, Kevin Pillar, Eli White.
Luplow and White.
Yeah. So, I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like there's more than what meets the eye. The bench isn't going to impress you. You just hope that the Braves can maintain their health and none of these guys have to be used for an extended period of time.
The next guy, Hilliard, I'm actually very intrigued by him because
we both read that Fangraphs article. Damn it,
we both read that Fangraphs article. We are
the Rockies
going
are a
super
stupid
high
franchise.
on Hilliard.
Yeah,
Hilliard is like I think he's 6'5". He has 85th percentile sprint speed. He hits the ball incredibly hard. His max exit velo was 115. His average exit velo was 92 miles an hour. He has a great outfield arm. He doesn't play enough to have like the full percentage chart.
mm-hmm.
I feel like the Braves' philosophy works really well with him too.
Yeah, well, basically,
because the Braves love homers.
Yeah, basically to summarize the Fangraphs article, and I forgot who wrote it. I don't know if it was like Ben Clemens or, sorry that we're misattributing it to you, but basically the gist of it was the Rockies tried to make him into an all fields type of hitter, when really he's a dead pull hitter all the way, and he had I mean, I don't know if you have the stats up right now, but he had a terrible season last year with the Rockies. Partially because, when you're good with the Rockies, your numbers are going to get diminished just by the Coors effect. But when you're bad with the Rockies, they're going to look even worse because of the Coors effect. We had a pretty terrible season with them, and like you said, the Braves philosophy works perfectly with Hilliard's hitting profile. If they're, especially with them banning the shift, or effectively banning the shift, I could see him putting up a low-key, really sneaky good season, kind of like a Johan Camargo 2018 type of season off the bench for the Braves this year.
Yeah, he also walks a lot. Like, he might be a Joey Gallo type.
Yeah.
Gallo has not been popular the last year and a half. Gallo with the Rangers was a very, I would call him underrated, because half the fan base, half the baseball world doesn't like the three true outcomes approach. But I mean, Hilliard's fast. He can play defense. He walks a lot. He hits the ball hard.
Yeah.
If he can unlock the launch angle, and he's just striking out 28% of the time, but he's also getting on base via the walk 10 to 13% of the time.
Yeah,
and hitting homers. That's a good player to
it's
have on your
funny.
bench.
It's funny you made the Gallo comparison because I'm looking at his graduation TLDR and Fangraphs, and it says Hilliard graduated as a toolsy feast or famine type hitter. I'm like, you could literally just replace Hilliard with Gallo there, and that would be accurate. No, totally. I think as an everyday player, if he was our starting left fielder, I would have major questions. But like you said, off the bench, yeah, I mean, I think he's a solid bench piece. And if somebody goes down or God forbid the left field situation doesn't work out, he's another option to plug in. And again, I think we have so much depth around the other parts of the roster that we can afford to experiment in left field. We can afford to experiment shortstop because we have plus players everywhere else around the diamond.
Yeah. And so with Hilliard, I'm super excited to just see what he does. I'm happy he hit his way onto the spring training roster because I really wanted to see what the Braves could do with him during the regular season. One player who did very or decently during spring training, but I don't have high hopes for, and I have a conspiracy theory about, is Ere Adrianza. And Adrianza has played for the Braves twice now. He played with the team in 2021.
He's got a ring.
He played for the Nationals, and then he played 6 games. He was acquired at the trade deadline by the Braves as a depth move. He only played 6 games. One of them, he had an IL stint that was pretty much a phantom IL for Ozzy Albies to come back. And then Albies broke his pinky the next day, and they couldn't call him back up. So they were like, oh, shoot, guess we're screwed now. He did play a couple games at the end of the season, but he didn't play much with the Braves or the Nationals last year. He actually had a negative WRC plus last year.
So what's your conspiracy?
No, he had a 38. He had a 38. I think he had a negative WRC plus with, or am I thinking of Pilar? I think Pilar had a negative WRC plus with the Dodgers last year in 4 games.
So what's the conspiracy you have around Adrianza?
So the conspiracy that I have is that the reason the Braves sent down Vaughn Grissom is because they didn't want Ere Adrianza to opt out. And that sounds ridiculous if you look at his player profile. He's not been great his entire career. He had a really nice season with Atlanta in 2021 where he had that 95 WRC plus season. He is the reason Eddie Rosario was able to hit a 3-run homer off of Walker Buehler because he hit a double right before Rosario came up, and that was with 2 outs. But I think the Braves just really like having the depth of Adrianza. They were afraid that he would opt out if he didn't make the major league roster. And Alex Anthopoulos has been on the record many times citing his concern about depth in pitching with his fielders. The reason he acquired 4 outfielders in 2021 after he acquired 4 outfielders to replace 1 outfielder in 2021. That was all because of depth. Anthopoulos loves depth, and Adrianza has played every single position in the major leagues except for catcher. So if there is a guy who offers a lot of depth, it's Adrianza. And so my conspiracy is that the Braves did the calculations with their how they value depth and how they value Vaughn Grissom's defense. And Vaughn Grissom's defense wasn't good enough to outweigh losing Adrianza. And so the Braves, even though maybe offensively Grissom would have been the better choice to have on opening day, losing Adrianza was too much for the Braves to lose out on that depth-wise, because after Adrianza, let's say Grissom goes down, Arcia goes down, you have Shoemake and no one else. And so my grand conspiracy theory is that a guy with a negative WAR last year was the reason Grissom didn't make the major league roster.
On a scale of 1 to 10 for conspiracy theories, like 1 being the least crazy, like aliens are real. I think most people believe that, and 10 being the most crazy, like I don't know, the moon landing was
One of the
fake.
craziest conspiracy theories is that 9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah, the or Holocaust deniers. I would say that's like a 3. I would say because it does make sense. And really today's game. I mean, we think about teams that are built on depth. We think about the Rays, the Giants. Um, on that level, on that scale, I don't think the Braves are really there. We definitely are built more on star power, I would say, than depth. But I think that does make sense, given Adrian's contract. And, I mean, just go back to Vaughn Grissom. It makes sense. It's not one of those, back in the day, service time manipulation where like, oh, we're sending him back to the Myers to work on his defense. It's like
The Braves don't care about service time
yeah,
anymore.
and we already brought him up. I mean, his clock is already ticking. So, for me, I think that makes sense. I think Adrian's is a very important part of the team. I think he was, we look back at the 2021 season. He was one of those guys that one of the unsung not superstars, but one of the unsung heroes at the beginning of the season. He had that walk off against the Phillies. I think he was a very uplifting clubhouse presence. I think with Alex Anthopoulos, he does have a bit of a chain of trust with players. You have a couple guys that he kind of likes to keep around, just because he really values their tool set and also their presence in the clubhouse. And I think Adrian's is one of those guys.
I mean,
So
Adrian's is that guy who's trying to be a GM in the future. He's definitely a smart player, and I think
yeah, where's he going to school, or where's he?
he's getting a degree from an online school that I think is based in Florida.
Yeah,
But like he's a smart guy. He I when he says he wants to be a GM one day, I think he has the brains to do it. I mean, most teams have spoken highly of the guy. I don't know if he's good enough from a player perspective to really hold on to that much, especially when he's on a minor league deal. They only played him 6 games last season. But Anthopoulos loves his depth, and this gives the Braves a lot of depth.
yeah. So I guess moving on from there, next up for us, just looking at the little behind the scenes, we do have just like a sheet of discussion topics. The bullpen, honestly, I just think for sake of yours and my sanity, I bullpens are so volatile, and there's so much that you can talk about, but I didn't do my research very candidly.
Yeah, I have a list of the great, the injured, the good, the possibly good, and that one guy who won't be with the team after April.
Yeah,
You want me to just go through that and see if you agree with it?
yeah. Let's do it. I'll tell you.
Okay,
if I
so
agree
the
or disagree.
great
Okay,
AJ Minter,
agree.
Joe Jimenez,
Don't agree.
Colin McHugh,
I love Colin McHugh as a person. What were the categories again? The great, the
the
injured.
great, the injured, the good, that might be good, and the guy who won't be on the team past April 5th.
I'll agree on Colin McHugh if those are the categories.
Dylan Lee.
Oh man, I'll agree.
He's a sneaky guy. I
Yeah.
feel like if you look at his stuff, he shouldn't be in the major league.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And for relievers,
but he is one of the craziest tunnelers out there.
I know, but for relievers, it's so volatile. I mean, it's so like if he's a starter who has the kind of stuff that he does and he's able to make it work, I'm like, okay, fine. He has a formula that works for him. As a reliever, though, just because it's like you only get an inning at a time, I'm gonna disagree on Dylan Lee. I've talked myself out of it.
I don't blame you. I wrote an article on Dylan Lee after the season was over, and I was on the fence about Dylan Lee before I wrote the article because I didn't understand Dylan Lee. I'm not a pitcher. Like, I'm not a pitching expert. When it comes to like pitching experts, I'm probably like 7 levels, like solid levels below pitching ninja.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say if
there.
one is pitching ninja, then yeah.
But Dylan Lee was the team's 3rd best reliever by FWAR, and he didn't even start the season on the opening day roster last year. Like he had a crazy good season.
Yeah.
He struck out batters. He had a 29% strikeout rate.
I mean, if I had a nickel for every mid reliever who had a great season, I would be a millionaire right now.
True. He had a 5% walk rate. He's a weird player. I can definitely understand being on either side because he's not young. He didn't make his major league debut until he was like 26, 27. He got kind of crushed in the World Series in his only start.
Which, to be
Start, if
fair,
you can
I
call it
mean,
that.
to be
That's a
fair,
tough spot.
yeah.
He's a weird player. The injured is Rizal Iglesias. I think
I
Iglesias
kind
is
of,
going to be great if he can pitch a lot. I'm concerned about the shoulder.
yeah, that's not a good prognosis. It was shoulder inflammation.
Yeah.
Typically, that's the optimistic reading, and especially if you don't handle that correctly, it can lead to a lot more issues down the road. So, because when I think inflammation, I think of just like a symptom, and sometimes it's like a symptom of a bigger issue. So we'll see, but I mean, to me, it's like if he's an essential part of our rotate or not rotation, bullpen.
Yeah. I think the Braves are good enough to like have AJ Minter's a phenomenal pitcher. Joe Jimenez, I think, had an underrated season last year. Colin McHugh, like the Braves will be good in the back half of the bullpen. It's just the mid innings
Yeah, Colin McHugh
that like
was
Iglesias
weird.
really hurts.
Yeah, Colin McHugh was weird. I gotta look at the numbers to validate this, but he was like good, but not clutch. Like there was a couple games I remember he would come in like close games, and he just was like straight up not great. Like
He
not
did
good
have a
in.
bad first impression. I think he allowed a 3-run homer in his first game with the Braves,
Yeah,
and the entire offseason it had been talked up like he doesn't allow homers. And he really didn't. Like he had one of the lowest home run to fly ball ratios. I'm looking. He had 1.4 F4. Uh, but he doesn't throw the ball hard.
yeah.
I think he has
He's got a devastating
literally one
slider though.
percent.
Yeah,
I think he has 1 percentile fastball velo,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Um,
Um,
but that slider is absolutely filthy. He actually
I love McHugh.
technically, I would say he had better stats. Well, let me see. No, he definitely had better results with the Rays. Never mind. Um, yeah, keep going.
The good is Lucas Luque,
Yeah, I'd agree.
and then the possibly good are Jesse Chavez and Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson, they sent him down, I believe.
He he's gonna start the season on the major league roster today. Wright was officially placed on the IL,
and they had
and
room to
so
put Anderson on there. Yeah. For
yeah,
those who don't know or are kind of just part of Braves fans, or kind of just follow the Braves, Nick Anderson, I would say, was an elite reliever in 2020, 2019 maybe too. Definitely 2020. He was basically, I would say, the difference between the Rays making the playoffs. He was the guy, I don't know if y'all remember, that when they took Blake Snell out in, was it game 5 or game 6 of the World Series in 2020, Nick Anderson was the guy they put in and got lit up. He struggled with underperformance, got injured, and the Braves basically picked him up on either a non-roster invite or like a minor league deal. So there's a lot of promise with him. I like that we picked him up, but again, with relievers, it could be just a total coin toss. I mean, he
he pitched 6 innings in 2021. He didn't pitch at all last season.
yeah. All right, keep going. I'm wondering
The
where
guy who is not the guy who's gonna make the opening day roster, and we're gonna forget that he was even on the roster by July, is Michael Tonkin.
Yeah, I agree. Where's oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. Padres. He was signed by the Blue Jays. Um, what's the guy? 1 second. We signed him. We signed him last year, knowing he wasn't going to pitch that much last year. I'm looking at 20.
Oh, Kirby Yates.
Kirby
I
Yates.
did forget about him on this
Yeah.
list.
I
I would put Kirby Yates in the unknown category. I did not enjoy watching him pitch last year. He has not been good this spring training, but he was dominant in 2019.
Yeah, that's the thing about Kirby Yates is that him pitching last year was more of a bonus. Like we signed him with the we kind of gave him the same deal that the Padres gave Mike Clevenger after he got Tommy John surgery. Kirby Yates, I think it was the second time getting Tommy John. We picked him up knowing that he wasn't really going to do much last year, hoping that he would be a key piece for us this year. I haven't looked at his spring training stats. Last year, I just don't really care about, if I'm being honest. I think he's got a filthy pitch mix. He's a guy who's, it's like for relievers, it's so weird because, 1 year I don't believe it. Like Dylan Lee, he's gonna have to pick it this year for me to like actually hop on the Dylan Lee hype train. But for Kirby Yates, he has been able to string a couple years together as an effective reliever. I know he's getting up there in age. I know he's coming off of injury, but I can still see him being a valuable piece out of that bullpen.
Honestly, I think the Braves give him a month or two. He's in the final year of his deal. I think he's making $6 million, $7 million this year. If he's not producing by May, the Braves will cut bait.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is fine. I think it was a worthy investment. It was kind of a bit of a lottery pick for them. So, but I mean,
and yeah, this was 5 seasons ago, but in 2019, was it 5 seasons or 4 seasons ago? But in 2019, he had a 1.19 ERA in 60 innings. So, like, he was at a time a very good reliever. It's just a matter of, can he bring that back? I'm not sure he can. I don't mind, because the Braves bullpen is pretty stacked, even without Iglesias. I really like McHugh. I really like AJ Minter. I think Joe Jimenez will be better than his ERA looked last season, because he had a 2 FIP. He and Minter, I think, had the same FIP.
Yeah.
I don't mind giving Yates a chance, even for like a month or two.
I don't know what his home run rate was, but I also with Jimenez he was with the Tigers, so I know how much his FIP was inflated by pitching in Comerica Park for more or less half his games, but I would throw him more in the good category. I don't think he's like going to be bad or anything. Yeah, so man, okay, so we are at, I don't even know if I want to tell you, we're an hour and 17 minutes, 17 pretty much.
Minutes, yeah.
Just to keep this train rolling, and anybody who's still watching at this point, man, thank you so much.
You should type the letter W.
Yeah.
If you're still watching at this point.
Because the Braves are going to be doing a lot of that this year.
A lot of that.
Yeah. So let's just move on to, it's going to be a long ass episode. God forbid we're going to have to flip a coin for whoever has to edit this.
Yeah.
So,
fifth starters. We recorded a podcast on this. We were very confident that Michael Soroka was going to win the 5th starter role. But we said, if he's not fully healthy, Ian Anderson, Bryce Elder, they got it. Like, we're good. Turns out, none of those guys will be on the opening day roster.
Nobody. Mike Soroka, he had that start against the Tigers. I think for him, he needs more time. They just don't want him to have to figure it out on a major league field. Ian Anderson, I think his time with the Braves is over. I don't know how many options he has left, but it just change of scenery, or I just think some other team needs to figure him out. Bryce Elder, he just needs some more time in the minors. I don't know what his spring stats look like necessarily, but I don't think he's like a lost cause or anything.
He and Anderson both got lit up, and it wasn't like any luck. They were giving up homers. They were walking batters like crazy. Yeah. I think Anderson had 10 walks in like 8 innings.
So I don't know if you agree with that assessment of all 3 players.
I don't think Anderson is necessarily toast. I think he would pitch again. He's not going to get the Fulte push out. Like, they like him.
I could see Ian Anderson being a really good 5th starter on the Blue Jays. I just don't know if I could see his time with the Braves being over.
I can see it coming. I need him to be traded to the Rangers, though, because I need him and his brother to pitch on a major league roster at the same time, and I need them
Who
to swap jerseys. If you
I'm
guys don't
almost
know, he's an identical twin. And I'm just really wanting
so
him.
many so many great clubhouse pranks. I could see like so
Actually, I
many
need
great
him on
like
the Twins. I need the Rangers to send his brother to the Twins, and because I did
that
a
would be
TikTok on this, and there have never been twins who have played on the Twins, and I'm really upset about this because
send
Taylor Rogers,
I was gonna
is it
say send
Taylor
the
Rogers
yeah Taylor Rogers pitched on the Twins, the
played on the
lefty.
Twins,
Yeah,
and now he's playing with his twin brother on the
at the
Giants,
Giants.
and they're so close.
They should. Yeah, I know they should. The Giants and the Braves and Rangers should all have like like 3 team or Twins should have a 4 team trade to get those guys all in the
Just
Twins.
4 twins. Anyway,
Just for the marketing aspect of it.
Twins on the Twins.
I
Minnesota, you
almost,
guys need to make this happen.
I almost wonder though if I mean obviously Ian Anderson's value is pretty much as low as it's going to get, but I do wonder if the Braves could somehow flip him, because even though we do have 2 guys, Dylan Dodd and Jared Schuster, rookies on our starting staff, and one of them is because Kyle Wright had shoulder fatigue. He just needs like some time to build up in the minors. Nothing serious, I would say. I mean, he pitched a lot more innings last year than he ever had in his career. I'm not too worried about that. I was going to say, even though we have 2 rookies, first pass of the rotation, I do think we have a lot of rotation depth. I do wonder if we would flip Anderson or somebody for a shortstop, just in case Arcia is just not able to pick it up as in an
Acquiring
everyday
a
role.
shortstop, though, I feel like
Just like a low, like a defense first shortstop. I mean,
like
um,
Isaiah kind of Falefa.
I
Those 12 defensive runs
no.
saved.
Hey, you know what? That makes sense though. Ian Anderson's from New York.
He's a Red Sox fan, though.
Volpe, whatever. No, I'm kidding. Volpe made the roster, so Ian Kinsler is going to be pretty much a depth option for them. It makes sense. I honestly wouldn't be mad having IKF on the Braves roster.
You need to put that on Twitter
Oh my God.
for the world to see.
Would get destroyed. I would get absolutely destroyed. I don't know. I mean, I know when you go into the calculus of this, it's, how much team control do they have left? I don't think IKF has much time. I think he has like 2 years of
I
control.
think this got to be his last year of control.
I forgot how long he was on the Rangers for.
I think he's ARB. He might be ARB 2, but he might be ARB 3.
Okay.
If
I'm
the
not kidding.
Braves
Okay,
make
I don't want IKF
and-
for like 1 year then of potentially like 3 years of Anderson. That's not a good trade, but
yeah, I definitely think Anderson's got a lot to work out. I don't know what happened. He's always been a weird pitcher to begin with.
yeah.
I
just like-
don't know if I've given up hope on him, but it's just he can't locate his fastball, and then he
His
can't get to his
fastball is like
changeup.
the way I describe his fastball, it's like one of the least exciting 96 mile per hour when he's able to get to 96. Obviously, he's not there right now, and obviously it's spring training. You're not fully ramped up, but it's like the least exciting 95 mile per hour plus fastball you'll ever see. It has no life to it. He's not able to locate it. His curveball, it just looks like it dies like by the time it gets to the plate. Really, his bread and butter pitch is that changeup, but if he has nothing to play off of it, it's honestly a worthless pitch in the major leagues.
Yeah, I'm still hopeful that Anderson figures it out. I mean, he's not that old. I think he's a year younger than us.
I know. We're all like, he's done. You hear us? He's done. His
He's
career's
cooked.
over. He's too old, and meanwhile, he's a year younger than us.
He's 24. He's gonna play in the major leagues again. It's just if he's gonna be a good starter. But we should, so we don't hit like the 2 hour mark. Dylan Dodd is a guy who, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know of him until he started the spring training.
Yeah.
I'm not a minor leagues person. He's a left-handed pitcher. He was the 3rd round pick in 2021. I pulled this from Pipeline, but he throws a fastball, a curveball, a slider, and a changeup. He has 50 grades and above for everything but the curveball. He's got a 60 control. He's a 45 overall. For those who don't know the scouting scale, like 50 is average. Um, he's 24. He's not like super young. I
I mean,
think
he's in Anderson's age.
I think he's a few months younger than Anderson. And he's making his major league debut against St. Louis. So we're talking about Anderson being cooked, and meanwhile, we're talking about this prospect, Dylan Dodd, who is
Yeah,
about the same age.
yeah,
He pitched well this spring training. I think we looked it up earlier. He had a 2 ERA.
yeah.
I have no idea what to expect from Dylan Dodd.
I mean, he's got. You said what was that? 4 pitches: fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. It's a decent pitch mix. As a lefty, behind Max Fried, it is going to be interesting to kind of see teams play against them in the same series. And again, uh, like we said before, the reason there's 2 rookies on the opening day roster is because Kyle Wright is hurt. It's going to be, and one of my storylines that I have is who's going to be the actual 5th starter. Because pretty much I would say it's neck and neck between those two. It's really just going to be who does better in their short time. I do not envy those guys. I mean, I say that as somebody who's, not making $650,000 to play for the Atlanta Braves, but um, it's got to be so nerve wracking. I mean, it's one thing to make a major league roster knowing that you are safe. You get a couple starts, but it's like as soon as Kyle Wright is there, it's like whoever is the weak link is going to be cut or, well, sent to the minors. So, yeah, I mean, Jared Schuster, I know he was top 10 Braves prospect coming into the season. I think on MLB.com and most other prospect rankings. Doesn't really mean much just because our farm system is completely barren because we graduated all of our prospects. But it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. This quasi positional battle that's going to
Yeah, Schuster.
leak into the regular season.
Schuster's funny. I was looking him up as well before we started recording. He was drafted before Bryce Elder and Spencer Strider, who have more. I mean, Elder obviously didn't make the team, but they've both made their debuts before. Strider is now guaranteed like $80 million.
Yeah.
Schuster was picked before them. He's also 24. He had a 3.29 ERA between Mississippi and Gwinnett. He had a 1.45 ERA this spring training. He also has that fastball slider changeup. So he's only a 3-pitch pitcher. That's interesting. 50 grade for the fastball, 55 for the slider, 60 for the changeup.
It's like the
55 control.
anti-Strider. Yeah, he's like the anti-Strider.
Yeah, he's got the Strider pitch mix without
Just
the
opposite.
heat.
Yeah.
I think Schuster's interesting because he is a first round pick, but he's not the best pick from that draft for the Braves, and he was pretty quiet from his time in the minors. Like, had I not looked up his stuff before this, I would have assumed that he was 4.5 ERA, kind of just figuring it out because the Braves don't care about service time, and he's the same age as Strider, who made his debut in 2021. So I think it's interesting that he's making the team out of opening day, because I guess I just wasn't ready for him yet. But I think Schuster is going to be the one who's the 5th starter past, April.
I'm going to say Dylan Dodd just because one thing, just to be a contrarian. And also, when he just kind of told me his pitch mix, I could see that working a little bit better earlier in the season. I don't think that means that Dylan Dodd's the better pitcher, but I guess we'll see.
But
I mean,
I think just to kind of emphasize how little this matters now. Cole, do you remember who the first four starters were for the Braves in 2019?
2019, Julio Teheran.
Mm-hmm.
That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think Max Fried was in the first four.
No.
Oh man. Okay, Julio Teheran. Not Mike Soro. I don't think.
No.
No, 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 no. Anibal Sanchez was 2018. Brandon
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Fultonevich.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Sean Newcomb.
He was the number 4 starter. He
Okay.
started the 4th game of the year.
Okay. Julio Teheran, Sean Newcomb. I'm gonna do three more guess. Well, I'm gonna do two more guesses if I even have them. Dallas Keuchel made his debut. Like he got signed in the middle of the season,
Yeah.
so I'm
I'll
not
give you a
guessing
hint.
him.
One of the guys is still on the team.
Okay, as a starter. Not Charlie Moore was on the Rays. Not Kyle Wright. Oh no, wait. Not Kobe Allard.
No. Kobe Allard had been traded already.
Okay.
Uh,
2019, really?
Kyle Wright started game 3.
Okay.
Bryce
That
Wilson was the game 2 starter, like second game of the year
no
starter.
freaking way, Bryce
So the
Wilson.
Braves opened the 2019 season. They won the division this season pretty easily, by the way.
Yeah.
The Braves went Julio Teheran, Bryce Wilson, Kyle Wright, Sean Newcomb. They had a day off. They went back to Teheran, Fried, Gosman, Wright, Newcomb.
It's kind of funny
Tuki
to think we had.
Tucson made a start in Cleveland on the
I remember that
20th
one. I
game of
remember
the
that
year.
one. Yeah, I remember that one.
Soroka didn't start until April 24th. Fulte didn't start until
Wow.
April 27th. So Dylan Dodd and Jared Schuster might, become the next Sandy Koufaxes, or they are back in the minors after the second week of the season, and we
Yeah.
don't see them again until like August.
Yeah. It's just funny because a lot of people freak out when they see, oh man, we have two rookies who like really weren't supposed to be a part of the rotation, and yeah, like you said, they could be an afterthought. I mean, I'm still holding out hope on Mike Soroka. I think it's just he had the setback with the hamstring. You know, he pitched that start against the Tigers, pitched like one in like 2/3 innings. That's not enough time.
From what I heard, the defense was terrible that game too.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
he was hopping like I think like 94, 95. Like he didn't look awful, but you know you're out of the major leagues for what, 2 years. You can't pitch a one in 2/3 innings against the Tigers and be like, all right, this guy's back. So I'm still holding out hope for Mike Soroka. I'm pretty sure the front office is telling him, it's like, hey, dude, like you just need to ramp up more. You know, the hamstring injury sucked. Like that's a punch in the. I think he quoted as saying like it was a punch in the gut, but I'm still holding out hope that he could be the real fifth starter.
I want Soroka. There's just something about him in interviews and the way he pitches. It's just he knows, kind of like Strider. Like Strider, I think the reason why the Braves gave Strider that contract is because he knows his stuff. Like he's not just a guy who throws hard. He's a guy who figured out how to throw hard and like how to make basically a starting pitcher work.
Yeah. And it's like he's only gonna get better. I mean, he's only gonna develop that changeup. He's only gonna
Soroka
figure
is
out.
just as brainy, from what I've heard from like people who are knowledgeable about pitching.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this because I'm really not that knowledgeable when it comes to like how the inner workings of pitching, but from other people that I've read and heard, they talk about like I remember when he was with I think Mississippi or Rome, and he had an interview in Fangraphs, and people were like, "Oh my God, he just like he's crazy. He knows his stuff," and he was like 19 at the time.
Yeah.
Soroka just like the reason I believe in Soroka more than like a normal pitcher who had like 2 years worth of injuries just completely derail his career is that even if he doesn't have the same stuff that he did back in 2019, he's smart enough to figure out how to work something else out. Like
Yeah. Well, he's
he's
never
a
been like a power pitcher. I mean, he always kind of was that guy who was able to, work the corners, use hitters' weaknesses against them. I mean, yeah, like I totally agree. He doesn't just understand the game like physically, he understands the game like fundamentally. He understands like really the meta of the game. And I think that goes a long way, especially for a player like him. So
he's also one
yeah,
of our few non-American pitchers.
yeah, from
You'd
the
be surprised because Joe Jimenez is Puerto Rican, which means he's an American citizen, right?
I yeah.
So
I wish he could have represented his great country of Canada. He and Freddie Freeman could have been reunited.
who?
Oh,
I've
we'll
never
get
heard
to
that name in
him.
my life.
We'll get
I've
to
never
him.
heard.
Oh yeah,
Never.
trust me. I don't know if you read the notes for the preseason stuff, but we'll get to him.
Yeah, I've never heard that name in my life.
Um, I guess we can just quickly um pivot to our preseason stuff. We were going to have a whole episode on it, but we really just want to cover kind of the rest of the players that we weren't able to cover in the previews. So I'm just going to quickly go over. Is there any other thing you want to say about just like fifth starters at all?
No, I think I'm a fan who just doesn't care that much. Like I really am excited to see Dodd. I'm really excited to see Schuster. If they do well, that's great. If they don't, I'm not gonna doom them to
Also,
a life. Go ahead.
shout out Kyle Muller, the A's
Opening day starter.
That was unexpected. I think I said like as a Braves fan, I'm both like proud but also appalled, or
Yeah,
like
I'm.
mortified.
I need him to go out there and shove. Uh, yeah, Kyle Muller.
I'm gonna
How
feel
many
so
people get
bad.
to start opening day?
Not many. I mean, besides unless your name's Julio Teheran, and you start opening day for like 5 years in a row for the Braves, but I do want at least one of the prospects we sent them to pan out because that would be such a I won't say a bad look. I mean, it'd be a good look for AA, but such just a terrible look. Like all these players that we sent the A's through
I
both
hope
the
it's the
William
guy from the
Contreras.
Brewers. I don't get why the A's didn't take Contreras. Like,
Well,
I
because
don't know.
we gave them Langoliers the year before. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean,
eh,
Contreras
I
can
know,
mash, man.
I know it's just it's funny. That franchise is very depressing at the moment. I love the Oakland A's fan base. I think I won't shut up about how cool they are and how they're some of my favorite fans. I wish they had a
Better
ownership that
ownership.
cared about them more. Yeah. Um.
Yep.
So yeah, Kyle Muller, shout out to him, the Bulldog. He had that time with the Braves in 2021 or 2022, whatever time when we just needed a starter and he was a warm body. So anyway, these are my quick storylines that we'll go through. So just kind of, if you made it this far, again, thank you. We are almost at 2 hours right now. Throughout the season, we are going to do basically 2 episodes a month. We're going to record Sunday and then probably post Monday during the day before the next series starts. Um, as we gain more fans, we might record more, but right now we both have full-time jobs and other obligations. So, 2 episodes a month it is. For now, we're going to cover pretty much, storylines that we're looking for. We're going to point out players, performances that really stuck out to us, storylines just from the actual season. It's a 162 game soap opera, so we're going to be trying to cover it the best that we can. So these are the storylines that I have. I'm going to go over them really quickly. Mitchell, I don't know if you have any, but first one is Freddie Freeman versus Matt Olson Part 2. After this year, I don't care. I really don't care. But I think it was such an engaging component of last year, just seeing their performance stacked up against each other Freddie Freeman got the first laugh, and I think Matt Olson's going to get the last laugh. So I'm just going to, I will have the swear jar out, but every time I bring it up on the podcast, I will donate to the cause.
He already
But
owes
I am,
a couple cents today.
yeah, right. I think that it's going to be more positive towards Matt Olson, but that's just those are my thoughts. Second
I
is going to
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I watched Olsen. He had unless he hits one tomorrow, but he hit 8 home runs during spring training this year, and they were not cheap at all. I
yeah.
think this dude is finally settled.
He's doing it against Major League. I mean, he hit one against Tanner Houck today. I mean, he's going to be on
Yeah,
the Red Sox Major League roster. He's not doing it against, you know, Joe Random from Single A. I mean, he's doing it against legit talent, and he looks really good, really locked in. Obviously, spring stats shouldn't be too much of an indication. I mean, Daniel Vogelback was like the spring training legend years back, and obviously he's Daniel Vogelback. We love him, but
he's gonna have his
anyway,
first stolen base this year.
that's gonna be sick. We're gonna have to put that base in the Hall of Fame. That giant
We really will.
pizza box base. Second one is gonna be Michael Harris versus Spencer Strider. You and I both agree that Spencer Strider probably should have been Rookie of the Year last year. I think Spencer Strider is gonna have pretty much head and shoulders the better year than Michael Harris. I know I alluded to it earlier. I think Michael Harris's performance is going to decline just a little bit, and I think Spencer Strider is gonna hit another level. The next one, fifth starter spot. Just going to be interested to see how that evolves during the season. Like we just said, I think Mike Soroka. We both think Mike Soroka is going to pull out eventually. He just needs to rehab, like get a true dedicated rehab stint in the minors before going on a major league roster. Another one I have, and I wish I had the stats to back this up. The Braves. I do know this undoubtedly. The Braves had the strongest 7-9 in their order last year, mostly because of Michael Harris. He was in the 9 spot for way too long, and pretty much elevated their performance. I'm interested to see how the bottom of their lineup does this year. I think that's one of the things that made the team sneaky good. As much as we like to rag on them for putting Michael Harris in the 9 spot pretty much all year last year, I do think he really did feed into the top of that offense. And it's just for me if you're an opposing pitcher, it does add like another layer where there's just not a string of 3 players that you feel like you can easily get through. It's just going to be interesting to see how it performs, how they perform this year. And then my last for my storylines is infield defense. We're kind of known for having a strong infield defense. Last year Dansby Swanson was a Gold Glove winner, and I'm trying to think who else. I mean, Freddie Freeman's has been a Gold Glove winner in the past. Same as Ozzy Albies, obviously not last year with the injuries. But it is going to be interesting to see how the defense is affected by the loss of Swanson. In addition to, I know Matt Olson had some kind of silly errors last year. Interested to see if he shores up on those. So those are pretty much my storylines. As the season goes on, I'll come up with more. But that's what I'm going to be looking for at the start of the season. Mitchell, do you have any sort of just storylines that you're watching?
Yeah, definitely Ronald Acuna Jr. Does he return back to 2021 Ronald, or is 2020 the one that we're gonna get, or 2022 the one that we're gonna get from here on out? Both are very good players. 2021 Ronald Acuna Jr. though is an MVP candidate. The second one I wanted to look out for this year is Max Fried versus Spencer Strider. Kind of the old versus the young, even though it's kind of weird to talk about Fried as an old player. They have different approaches. Max Fried could strike out 10 batters per 9. He does not. I think he strikes out 7 or less. He's a very contact-heavy starting pitcher. But he keeps the ball in the ballpark. He doesn't walk a lot of batters. He finished runner-up in the Cy Young voting. The question is Spencer Strider a better pitcher than Max Fried? And I'm really interested to see it play out because Strider, basically, his whole goal is to strike you out. He doesn't really care much about weak contact. He just wants to strike you out as fast as possible. And what that does is you get one of the craziest FIP seasons by a rookie. You get 200 strikeouts and under 85 hits in 200 innings. But you also have a guy who is doing something that really no pitchers tried before. I don't know if tried is the right word, but he Randy Johnson last year.
Yeah.
Can he do that over a full season? And if he can, he's better than Max Fried. Um, Sean Murphy is an interesting guy. You always need to keep an eye out for the new acquisitions. Can Murphy adjust to Atlanta? He just signed a big deal after being acquired. He, unlike Olsen, however, is not from Atlanta. I think Olsen had that homecoming moment where it's easy for fans to latch on to. Olsen did have the misfortune of replacing an icon, but did Sean Murphy adjust to Atlanta? Is he a
Hey,
120 WRC plus hitter?
Travis d'Arnaud is an icon too. Don't forget. But
Travis
yeah.
d'Arnaud though is still here. We
Yeah.
love when his hair pokes through the helmet. I guess that's also a subplot though. Is how much does d'Arnaud play? Because
Yeah.
he's still he's an all star. He was a 2022 all star. He's basically being put as the secondary catcher. Does he DH a lot? Does
Yeah. But
he
then you
40
have
60 split?
yeah. And then you have, Rosario or Marcelo Zuno, like how does that factor into it? You know, if we try to do a true platoon in left field, what if one of them starts really going off and we want to give them more at bats? It's like, does that take away from d'Arnaud? Does that take away from Murphy? So, yeah, I
So
second
yeah,
that.
catching is definitely something to keep an eye out for. Sean Murphy should be an excellent player. Uh, but when you have two all-star level catchers, somewhere along the lines the production will be split. You can't have a 10 war player back up a 10 war player and expect 20 war. Likewise, you can't have a 6 war catcher and a 4 war catcher and expect them to both produce 10 war.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course, the same thing as you, the fifth starter spot, but I think it's more I'm focused on Soroka. Does he make it back to the major leagues? Does he pitch well if he does? I'm really just interested to see because everybody likes a good comeback story. You had, Tyler Matzik after 5 years of not playing Major League Baseball come in and pitch for Atlanta in 2020. Comebacks are in,
Yeah.
and I really want to see Michael
I
Soroka have that.
yeah, to that point, like I said, or like you said, like I could totally see that starting to become like a national headline. Because I mean, 2 years to us is, 2021 felt like yesterday, or 2020 even. But for a major league player, especially in a game like Major League Baseball, where for 180 days you're basically playing every day, or if you're a pitcher, basically playing every fifth day. 2 years, actually, really effectively 2.5 years, is a long time to sit out. I mean, you're getting to the point where agents and peers are telling you, hey, maybe it's time to hang up the cleats. Maybe this really just wasn't meant to be. So I could definitely see that being a national headline or national storyline as the season progresses.
Yeah, I mean, Braves players have debuted and been traded since Soroka last pitched in the major leagues. Braves icons have been created, and the time that Soroka
Yeah.
has been on a major league mound. I mean, we didn't even know who Kevin Smith was when Soroka last pitched, and now look at us. We really
Yeah.
know who
Now
Kevin Smith is.
now he's a distant memory. I mean, now he's just
Um,
like a blip.
so I definitely want to keep an eye out on Soroka, but overall, I'm really excited about this 2023 season. I think we have a great team. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of homers too. Like, if Mitchell can have one thing, it's 3 home runs a night. So
Oh man,
I think this is the team that can do that for me.
was the record set by the Twins? Did they eclipse three? Did
I
they
think
eclipse
they quit. I
300?
think they got it. I mean, this was 2019 though,
Yeah.
but I
No, I
think
don't
they
think they're
did
gonna
get
get
over.
there, but I'm trying to, as just like a point of reference. I mean, we have some. I mean, we have legitimately three guys who could convincingly hit 40 plus homers, and then I would say like another three guys who could hit 20 plus. If we're saying like Rosario, Murphy, and Albies.
Trying to find a single season record by a home run team. Um,
Is it
Somehow this is not a
307?
very Googleable thing. It looks like the Yankees had 306.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
The
think it was one
Twins,
of those
yeah, no,
where
it's
the
the
Twins
Twins. They have
broke it, and then the Yankees ended up like,
307.
yeah, that okay. That was spot on. It's weird what your
Do the Braves? That's I
memory
guess the
holds on to.
storyline. Do the Braves break the major league record home runs set by a team without the juice ball?
Yeah, well, was that I think the 2000 Mariners or something? We'll see. I'm gonna say like, can the Braves eclipse 250 homers this year? I
I
think
think
that's
it's
like a
easy.
yeah, that's a pretty decent milestone. But yeah, I think it's pretty easy for them. Um, how many wins can this team get? How much can we beat up on the Marlins? Because the Marlins are, I still think they're going to be bad, but they're definitely not the same team we played 2018, 2019, 2021. It will be interesting to see. Um, how much can we take advantage of the fact that the Phillies are going to be without Bryce Harper for the first half of the season?
And Reese
How much can
Hoskins.
we? And well, Reese Hoskins the full season, but yeah.
Yeah,
How much can we take advantage of the fact that the Mets don't have Edwin Diaz? Like, how much can we exploit their bullpen throughout the year? I mean, there's gonna be a lot of plot lines that we're gonna be watching out for. We're very excited to witness them with you, our loyal fan base, all one of you so far as of recording this episode. But I guess another plot line: how many subscribers will we have at the end of the season? I think it will be at least 1,000. That's
my
a
over
high
under was
number.
going to be at 100. So,
I
but
know
you
it's a
never
high
know.
number.
You never know.
Well, there is a
I
certain YouTuber who's going to put out a video that's going to be technically sponsored by this podcast that will probably get us at least 5 subscribers. I would
I
say.
bet I bet they're gonna make that video about some switch hitter. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I think he was on the Braves for a little bit in the 2000s and
I think they had a
mid
really
90s.
hard time replacing him. I
Yeah,
think. But I don't
yeah.
know. For some reason, Chris Johnson just comes into my
There
head.
was this
CJ,
tall
CJ, Chris
tale
Johnson.
that
Yeah.
one time this person that I think we're thinking about, I don't know if this happened or not, but saved our ex first baseman during a snowstorm in Atlanta. But I don't know. That sounds like
I mean, but that's
a dream
ridiculous.
that
It
I
doesn't
had.
snow in Atlanta. Like everybody knows that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But if it did, that would be catastrophic.
That'd be
But
sick.
thank God it doesn't.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. I also
Anyway,
heard he had an affair with the Hooters girl, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what what this person talks about in this video. So yeah, we're super looking forward to watching the season along with y'all. If you've made it this far, thank you. I It's kind of crazy to think that we're that engaging that somebody would actually stick with us for almost 2 hours, but we are very thankful. Mitchell, any last thoughts?
no. I think we're probably gonna cut it off in the middle of someone's sentence if I'm editing it. To be honest.
All right. So, for Cole, follow me on Twitter, No More Fielders. Watch my YouTube channel at No More Fielders.
Yeah, Mitchell. My Twitter's at minsub4. My baseball YouTube channel's What Happened to Baseball. I have currently had some nice growth on the channel, so I'm gonna just attribute it to this, even though it's probably not.
I also heard you write for a publication.
Yeah, it's a Braves blog called House That Hank Built. I don't think fans who would listen to this would like reading Braves content. That just seems ridiculous, though. So
I After midnight, I go out to the nearest construction site, and there's a lot near me because I live in Atlanta, and I read House That Hank Built articles. So
I heard that you climbed up Truist Park and you were just kind of shouting it, like you were reading my articles, like shouting them, just mine.
I had
And
I
then
had a
you
megaphone.
summoned the ghost of Hank Aaron, and
You
Hank Aaron
know,
said,
you know how they have like those like evangelical protesters? They have like the megaphones and the signs. I have that, but I'm just like reading out your articles on House That Hank
I
Built.
don't know if I'll ever be able to go to Atlanta. I might have like a no fly list just to Atlanta.
Yeah, no, actually, when I got detained, they told me that you would immediately get arrested the minute you step foot in Hartsfield Jackson. So I would just go to like a local airport and just drive up, but that's just me. You're welcome.
Okay. I think I'll just go to South Carolina, maybe Charlotte, maybe, and just drive the 6 hours.
That's a nice
All right.
drive. All right,
Bye,
bye.
guys.